Nicole James Escobar here with part 4 of my short story Chef's Kiss. Round 5, 18 contestants. Because we finally reached an even number of competitors, we're pitted against a member of another team, head-to-head style. Losers go free float in space with no protective gear, for the amusement of whoever watches this insane cooking competition. I'm matched up with a woman from a different team. She's younger than I am, and she says, "I'm not going to take it easy on you," she tells me before the camera starts rolling. "I don't want you to. To the victor go the spoils," I say, thinking that this time the victor goes the oxygen and a safe place to sleep until the next challenge. "To the best chef goes the trophy," she agrees, being very optimistic of either of our chances to reach the end of this crazy competition. One of us is moving on to the next round, and one of us is going to die. I'm not going to go down easy. Blindfolds are a new obstacle, and I feel both relief as I get to hide my swollen eyes as panic from not being able to see what I'm doing. This is a dangerous game. I know where everything is now, how to use all the equipment. I feel confident. We must cook our signature dishes. I make deconstructed chicken pot pie, a southern comfort food that I elevate. I've made this dish at least 1,000 times. I make a flaky pastry as much as I can make in space, with tiny diced chicken bites, gravy, and mixed veggies. It's not the sloppy soul food that I enjoy. This is art. At least I hope it's art. I can't see under my blindfold. We have 1 minute at the end of the competition to take our blindfolds off and make any needed corrections. I see that my dish is a little lopsided, and I fix it, carefully straightening it. The woman that I'm paired up against has made tacos. That was how I got here. The tongue master is our sole judge for this round. He tastes both dishes. Then he presents us 2 glasses of what appear to be red wine that he had sitting off camera. They look identical. "Drink up," he says in a deep voice. I didn't taste anything out of the ordinary tartness of the wine. The woman falls onto the floor, her eyes glazed over as her entire body shakes. She's gasping for air and shaking for at least 30 seconds. I think getting dropped into the vastness of space might have been more humane than poisoning. Maybe whoever's controlling this competition needs to vary how the losers die. 2 people who have seen around bring a wheeled stretcher into the room and quickly scoop the woman's corpse onto it. Within seconds, the camera person and I are the only 2 people left in this room, the tongue master leaving with the 2 crew members, presumably to judge another round. I stand where I'm left, numb. It takes a few minutes for someone to remember that I've been left unattended and come get me. I could have run, tried to escape, figured out a way back to Earth. I felt both relieved that I was taken back to my room and disappointed that I hadn't taken the opportunity. Round 6, 9 contestants. This next challenge had a title. I know this because on the virtual game board the title "Trash Can" was in bold print. You have been using premium ingredients, and now this is a challenge to really prove what sort of chef you are. These are remains of what has been served to you in your time aboard the space station, the female judge said. A small white bucket was placed on my station. The smell of rancid food reached my nose and sickened me immediately. This wasn't yesterday's dinner. This was maybe from the first night we had come aboard. Maybe someone had gotten lucky with something they could make, but I was drawing a blank. Did they want me to lose? I looked into the bucket. There were cockroaches in this bucket. Nasty. I quickly inspected all the ingredients in the bucket, if that's what they could be called. The cockroaches were probably the only thing worth eating in the bucket. Other people might have gotten lucky with their buckets. I was unlucky. I was going to try to cook my way out of this one. Maybe creativity and uniqueness were going to be the thing that saved me this round. I put some oil on the stove and started heating it up. I quickly decided that I was going to use the cockroaches as the main course. We had some spices, and it was either serve the judges rotten food that I had spiced up or serve them fresh cockroaches. If they were going to put me in this terrible situation with cooking with rotten food, they would just have to eat cockroaches. Take that. A shiver of disgust went through me as I grabbed the cockroach and put the first one in the oil. There were 4 cockroaches, and they all gave me a hard time as I tried to catch them to cook them. But I caught all 4 of them. Once they were all 4 in a pot of oil, I scooped them out and placed them on a plate, seasoning them with some spices and a garnish of lemon. I worked on making that plate look as tasty as I could. I didn't expect to win, but I needed to not be the worst. I presented my offering to the judges, and they looked at me as if I was joking. Maybe they thought I was trying to be funny. They reluctantly concluded that they did indeed have to eat this dish. They made faces only the tongue master able to keep a straight face. I didn't lose by some miracle. Maybe they needed me in this competition for entertainment value or shock factor. It didn't matter. I didn't win, only advancing 1 spot on the game board. I was over halfway to the finish line. Other people hadn't been as creative as I had, but the only benefit of this was that I didn't have to watch anyone die, because they took me out of the studio room to the interview room. This time they made me do an interview of how I had thought of using the cockroaches. I tried to be engaged and as entertaining as I could, thinking that maybe the only way I was going to get out of this competition alive. Round 7, 8 contestants. I must make a dessert. I make a chocolate ganache. It's one of my best works. I come in third. Round 8, 7 contestants. Sushi is the theme of this round. I felt a jolt of fear once I learned that because Alex is still in this competition. I know I don't have the classical training of the sushi dish that she has, but I still try to win. I'm going to make it as far as I can in this competition. It's going to be hard because Alex studied sushi and the art of making it. I have only eaten it. I barely scrape onto the next round. My rice doesn't want to be molded into the sushi shape. This almost cost me the competition, almost gets me sent to the boneyard in whatever shape the judges want to kill me. I can't focus on how narrow a margin that it was. I just have to keep going. Winning doesn't happen until the last round. Not really. Even the person who wins just survives until the next challenge. Round 9, 6 contestants. It's steak time. Everyone is given a random cut of meat. Mine is a steak. I use minimal seasonings and trust that the cut of steak is a decent one. I cook it medium rare, using only salt, pepper, and butter. I rest the steak and go for the amazing side dishes. I make mashed potatoes and some mushrooms that are stuffed with cheese and baked to have a crispy top. I make top 4 with my dish. I move 4 squares toward the finish line. Success! Round 10, 5 contestants. Seafood. I enjoy making this dish, using mussels and spices to make a very New Orleans-style dish. It seems well received by the judges, even Tongue Master smiling a little bit. My dish looks good, too, on the plate. I'm doing better in this competition I thought. I get edged out of first place by Alex. Still get to advance 2 squares toward the finish line. Alex is a couple squares in front of me now. Only 10 more squares before I cross the finish line. Round 11. 4 competitors. I make a dish that I've made a million times at the restaurant. It's one that the chef personally thought would win him some recognition. Maybe if I say it's from chef, they'll interview him, give the restaurant some notoriety. It's a complicated dish, but I finish just in time. I don't know if it'll get me through to the next round. I can't think about anything. I try to focus on nothing at all. The vastness of space, not getting sucked into the oxygenless void. We all stand in squares that are trap doors. The person in between Alex and I disappear down through the floor. The 3 of us that are left are shocked and sort of relieved we didn't have to watch the loser flop around on the floor. Disappearing is the best solution. I ended up coming in third, barely getting by. Alex won this round with sushi. She moved ahead 6 spaces, only a few spaces away from the finish line. Alex, John, and I are still alive. 1 more round to go. The interview is intense after this round. All kinds of questions asked, especially about my personal life and what I see my future holding. I try to be positive and say I see myself opening my own restaurant. The interviewer seems to have heard that answer before. That's most chefs' dream, is to have their own menu, their own cookbook, their own something, but more than anything, most of us want our own restaurant. Round 12, 3 contestants. This is the last round. Whatever happens now, I've made it further than I had ever hoped. I want us all to win, but I feel that's not going to happen. This time we all compete in separate rooms, so there's no chance of seeing what the other people are making. This round I must recreate the menu from one of the judges' restaurants. It's not hard, but I only have 90 minutes to do it in. There's an example I can look at and taste. They gave us 10 minutes off camera to try to figure out what the dishes we must make. The dishes seem complicated, but when I taste them, I can figure out the flavors. This is a true chef's taste of the ability to recreate other chefs' dishes. Then I see Sarah. She's coming into the studio, and I run to hug her. The cameras focus on our reunion. I'm crying as I hug her. I'm sure the audience loves this display of emotion. Maybe they are rooting for me. I'm here to be your sous chef. Imagine a cooking show in space. Everyone is watching this show, Sarah says in a gush. Let's go, I say, hurrying back to the kitchen area. I worry she signed a contract that had the clauses that I signed, but I'm too afraid to ask. I quickly brief her on what she needs to help me with. We get lost in the time, not talking, just doing what needs to be done. The final 5 minutes is hard to breathe. I don't want Sarah to see me flopping around on the floor. I can hear my noisy breathing as I finish the dishes. Then the dishes are taken away and I'm standing in the dirty kitchen with Sarah. I have to go now, she says. I know. Thank you, I say. It's hard to know what to say when I could lose this round and never see her again. What do people say when this could be the last time they see their best friend? She leaves the room and I stay. The fear and knot in my stomach, that is the only thing I can focus on. The cameras pan on me the way I'm breathing quickly. Maybe this footage will be so boring that it'll be trashed. I look terrible. Finally, I'm taken to the interview room. How did you do? The interviewer asked me. I'm not sure. The interviewer asked me a new question. Why did I want to win the competition? I answered that I came to compete and to grow as a chef, to see if I could win because I don't back down from a challenge. The interviewer seemed uninterested in my response. That scared me, so I added, I had no idea this competition was in space when I applied. Once I got here, I decided I might as well win. The first time I saw what happened to the loser of a challenge, it lit a fire in me. I want to stay alive. There are so many things I want to do, and I have to be alive to do them. It's not winning just for the victory. It's winning to get back home. Just as we were wrapping things up in the interview, someone spoke into the intercom of the interview room. The judges are ready, the intercom announced. This time, the interviewer walked me to the judges through the space station that looked more like a warehouse than it did anything else. The room we enter is immense, with windows showing Earth below us, a bright marbled ball in the darkness of space. Cameras and crew are everywhere. The door closes with a hiss. This is the same room that I saw the round 4 losers get sucked into outer space. The judges are behind a window in a separate room, protected from anything that could happen. Their room filled with oxygen and safety. I feel exposed. I try not to fall to my knees. Please enter this escape pod, the tongue master announced over the intercom system. I hadn't seen the tiny closet-sized pods when I had made my initial observation of the room. There were 3 of them. I was being led to the one in the middle. Are we going to hear the results of the judging, I asked? The crew member repeated the order, and I got in, unsure of what was going to happen in this final judging. The pod is small, and I feel a wave of claustrophobia rush up on me, especially when the pod closes with a hiss. I can touch all the walls without even fully extending my arms. The small monitor that was in front of me came to life, and the team of judges appeared in a live stream. The tongue master spoke in his deep voice. We want to thank you for your participation in this competition. You have made this a success, and we have been renewed for Season 2. Now we must crown the winner. Each pod has been sealed, and now we'll go into the depths of space. The winning competitor will be taken to Earth for a homecoming that is out of this world. The 2 competitors who lost will not make it to Earth, but will instead become part of the mystery that is space. 2 of the pods are weakened, and only 1 pod is strong enough to make it to Earth. The winner has been put into the strong pod. A series of beeps started then, and then the room with camera people and the judges grew smaller, and I could feel the motion of the pod. My heartbeat felt like a drum pounding out a war beat. This was it. A minute passed, the longest minute of my life. I was still heading for Earth. Time seemed to stand still. My skin felt like it was on fire because my nerves were so on edge. To the right, there was a brief flash. That must have been the 3rd place pod. I was still heading for Earth. Another period of what felt like infinity passed. The other pod and I were entering Earth's atmosphere. Maybe this pod was strong enough to pass whatever the hell we were going to go through, and there would be 2 survivors of this hellish cooking competition. Just after I decided there would be 2 of us, there was another flash, and the other pod was gone, erupting into a bright fireball. I cried then, losing all control. Relief that I had won and the fear that I had held that I wasn't going to make it back to Earth rushed over me, tears flooding from my eyes. I didn't feel like a victor. I felt like a survivor. The pod landed on a platform. A loud crowd was around the platform and surged forward as the pod landed. A large projection screen with the feet of the judges that I had been watching on the smaller screen inside the pod was visible. I tried to compose myself before the cameras were panning on me. The pod was unlocked and I got out. The gravity of Earth was heavy after however long I had been off planet. The people in my life that were my biggest supporters were there at the landing site. My best friend was there, and so was my mom. She had taken a shuttle back to the Earth while I had been doing my interview. There was Chef and everyone from the restaurant. There was even the President of the United States. Everyone was congratulating me, and it felt like I had accomplished something. Welcome back to Earth. More accurately, welcome back to the United States. I've been personally following your success, and I want to offer my congratulations. The President greeted me with his political smile. You won! I can't believe it! Sarah screamed at me as she bounced around. I couldn't believe that this was happening either. I looked into the sky to see if I could see the remains of the other pod that had entered the atmosphere with me. There was a tiny cloud of smoke, but it was already clearing. There wasn't even enough of a person to have a funeral with. Are you ready to see your prize? One of the judges asked, the voice magnified so everyone could hear her. Yes, I said breathlessly. You have won a spot on Chef Space Battles as a judge for the next season, she said. I felt confusion. It felt wrong, like I had survived this ordeal and was going to go put someone else through the ringer, killing the losers like the other members of the competition had been killed, ejected into the vastness of space, and you have won a food truck. You said your dream was to open your own restaurant, and to do that, well, we have arranged for you to have a food truck. Also, we have partnered with a local company who make olives. They provided a year's supply of olives for you, the judge said, with a voice like I had just won the lottery. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want a food truck, didn't want olives, didn't want to judge the competition for the next year. Everyone was cheering, yelling at the top of their lungs, excited that I had won. Somehow this competition had meant a lot to everyone, apparently becoming one of the most watched shows on television. I was a celebrity. If this emptiness was what victory felt like, I didn't relish it as much as I thought I would. I just felt weak and relieved to be back on Earth. That day was spent doing interviews for both the show and the news media. I didn't have a chance to stop and think about how I had won something I had never wanted. I wanted a real restaurant, not some mobile roach coach I had to drive everywhere. I had been trained as a chef, and there was a certain level of dignity that I felt I owed the profession. But I didn't say any negative, even when they gave me the keys to the food truck. At least I was alive. 6 months post-competition. I have something to tell you, I told my best friend Sarah excitedly. What? I sold all of those olives I won, I almost screamed in excitement. Really? This year's olives crop was a failure and the price of olives reached an unheard of high. I sold them all and paid off my student loan debt, I told her. There had even been a little bit left over so I could go on a vacation. Awesome! Now what are you going to do, Sarah said. I don't know. I'm going to open my own custom ice cream shop with a food truck. I don't want to do any real food, but ice cream's a gray area for me. I think I can make a difference in the ice cream market in LA, I said. It was true. A lot of the ice cream was store-bought, but the ice cream was going to be made in a food truck by myself. I had thought it out, and after a long time struggling with myself, I told Chef that I was going to go out on my own, working only one evening a week with him just for old time's sake. It had been a good summer full of learning experiences and challenges when it came to getting the food truck license and managing my new fame. I called the food truck Dark Matter Ice Confections. I had it wrapped with a cool space theme, with ice cream as the planets and sprinkles as the stars. I spent a lot of time planning awesome flavors, and I had grown a large following, as though if that was because the ice cream was good, or because I was now grown famous following the competition, I wasn't sure. I hung up with Sarah then and thought about the future. What new challenges were ahead of me? I didn't know. Whatever they were, I would take them the same way I had competed, with all my focus and energy. Today I was making ice cream. I tasted a spoonful of the batch I was currently working on. The sweetness seemed like a reward and a perfect way to end the chapter of my life as a contestant on the Chef Space Battles.